college football playoff rankings are stupid.
Oh, I hate
the college football playoff is stupid, and I'm not saying that just to be facetious. I'm not saying that just to have a take. No, everything we are going through right now with BYU, with Utah, with Oregon, with Notre Dame, all of these teams, these questions of why BYU is behind these teams is exactly why the college football playoff is stupid. And I know you may think I'm being facetious when I say they make the rules up as they go. I'm not. They are making this up as they go. They don't have a plan. They don't have a code that they live by other than what can we do that's most exciting for us. It has nothing to do with what you do on the field. It has honestly very little to do with your record. It has very little to do with who you have played or haven't played because they will use that as a justification on one hand and not in the other. Hence BYU and Oregon. BYU's played a tougher schedule than Oregon. BYU's got a better record or the same record as Oregon. BYU actually has a top 25 win. Oregon does not, and nobody cares. Well, everybody cares except for the College Football Playoff Committee. So, again, when I'm telling you they make it up as they go, that's not just a tagline from me. That is actually what's happening, and it is why this is stupid in the first place, because you have, who was it, Dan Wolken yesterday, kind of railing against Utah. It's like, here's the thing. Utah's having a very good season. Dan Wolken should not have to go online to rail against Utah because, with all due respect, why is Utah in the college football playoff conversation? Utah's played two good teams. They've lost to them both. And I like this Utah team a lot. I think Utah should keep it together. I think they should run it back. I know we talked a lot about the quarterback yesterday, but Witt should come back and run this team back and really try and make a run to win the Big 12 and have a chance to compete in the college football playoff. But yeah, why is Dan Wolken having to go online to yell about Utah not belonging and not understanding what their schedule is? It's because we've expanded this out so far that you do have those types of conversations, and I don't know who is helping. I don't know who enjoys it more. I don't know why this is more fun than what it used to be. I don't know who this is serving, and I mean that honestly.
Yeah, I agree with all of that, and I say well said to you. I'm trying to search for it. I should have had it handy, but did you see the committee's comment on ranking BYU where they did?
Yes.
And honestly, I'm actually kind of glad I don't have it in front of me because it's not relevant for all the reasons that
I can read it. I've got it in front of me,
but the justification, get into the meat of it. I think it was the middle paragraph or whatever, explaining the part with the Texas Tech loss.
It says, this is really where they started. It says Hunter Yurachek. It says, it's really the way they looked in the game against Texas Tech. They were dominated on both sides of the ball in that game against Texas Tech. Then you look at their wins. They have a win over Utah, who's ranked 13th. But then their other wins are against what we consider quality wins are against an unranked Iowa State team, Arizona, and East Carolina.
That's a mental pretzel.
Yes,
that's
exactly
a
right.
Complete mental pretzel. That sounds like a conspiracy theorist on 4chan.
Exactly right.
You know what I mean? Like, I read that whole thing and I was like, are you serious, right? Is that the mental gymnastics that you're doing? And honestly, whose opinion is that? Yours? Is that Ivan Mazel's? I mean, whose opinion? You think BYU was dominated on both sides of the ball by Texas Tech? Well, I mean, a sane person can make an argument that they weren't dominated. What's the word dominated? What does that even mean?
Okay,
it's honestly ridiculous mental gymnastics.
Let me see if I can do this quickly, playing Mad Libs with another team. So I'm using the same heart of what they said, and I'm going to do Mad Libs with another team. It's really the way they looked in their game against Indiana. They were dominated on both sides of the ball in that game against Indiana. Then you look at their wins. They have a win over Iowa. They have quality wins over Wisconsin, Oregon State, Northwestern. What we consider quality wins are against unranked teams. But that's Oregon, right? That's you could use the exact same thing for Oregon and just change the team names out, and it's the exact same paragraph.
But it's just PR for justification for whatever their value is at the time, which is just crazy. And crazy that we do all these ridiculous announcements, polls, whatever you want to call it, leading up to the grand decision. I mean, the whole thing is honestly silly. And in this particular circumstance, they're going to only include one Big 12 team if they can possibly justify it.
They absolutely are.
End of story.
Yep, they absolutely are.
That's how it's going to end. And if there's any way, shape, or form that they can justify only doing that, that's exactly what they're going to do. So anything else is a waste of time. But I started thinking, Ben, and you're going to have to talk me off the ledge on this one because I'm going to break one of my cardinal rules.
Okay.
Normally, when bad ideas are tried and failed and people move off, eventually the bad idea comes up again and people like jump on board. I used the daylight savings thing.
Yeah.
That it was tried in the 70s and it was a disaster.
The one I like to use is a couple of years ago, the Knicks said, what if we do an entire game and we don't play any in-arena music?
Yeah, right.
So you're going to have the world's most boring game? Like, all of those decisions were made at one point because people said, wow, this product stinks. How do we fix this? Yeah. Everyone said, let's get rid of daylight savings, and a bunch of kids got run over at the pitch black walking to school, and they're like, oh,
well, that's a bad idea.
That was a hell of an idea we had there. Saved all those lives.
Anyway, it's the Tobias Funke, like, oh, that never works, but maybe it'll work for us.
Yeah.
That kind of mentality. So maybe I'm falling into that trap. But in today's day and age of artificial intelligence, should we just go back to the computer? At least it's fair. And I lived through the initial BCS computer poll. And that era where it was all computers and then a computer was just a part of it. And it wasn't particularly successful. And it was fairly short-lived, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think, 3 years, 4 years?
Not terribly long, yeah.
Maybe at the max. And widely panned as a bad idea. And kind of, in a weird way, births the committee that we have today. So, but I mean, it's no longer just plug in a code. AI technology is a lot different than it was back then. I don't know. Find a tech bro college football fan and have them come up with a dang AI, let's put the right teams thing in, because then at least it's fair and it doesn't change. Because you're right, you read through the justifications for every team and the goalpost moves depending on who they're talking about. And the truth is, it's all based on what league they're in and the fist fight over these giant shares that you get for getting into the college football playoff. And they want the ACC to have as few as possible. They want the Big 12 to have as few as possible. They want the G5 to have as few as possible. Somehow they love Notre Dame. I don't get that whole scheme. I guess they're all trying to woo Notre Dame to eventually join their league. But that's the end of the story. If they can put a 3-loss SEC team in and justify it, they're going to do it. And especially if it's the good story, if it's the good narrative.
Right.
Ask Florida State. All of a sudden you lose an important player and you're no longer a good story and everybody just counts you out and they figure out a way to drum you out of the whole thing. I mean, I don't know. It's flawed.
The funny thing about this is George Kliavkov and Larry Scott solved this problem for them by killing the Pac-12. There are now 4 major conferences, and a 4-team playoff makes a hell of a lot of sense. It's really easy to do. It's what they did for a while. It was kind of the whole idea of it. Get those 4 teams. It was the original playoff. Have those 4 teams play one another. And you can just do it with the conference champions of the P4 schools. And I'm sorry, Boise State's not going to make it. You're in a smaller league that plays worse teams. You don't belong. I don't know what to tell you. It's unfair. Life's unfair.
Yeah,
it's fine. You guys have your own playoff. Have the G5 playoff. The FCS does it, and they do it really well. Have a bigger one to make even more money because more of your teams can play, and they get a larger chunk of the TV money. Yeah, you're not making the college football playoff. There's 4 teams: the SEC, the Big 10, the ACC, the Big 12. They go and they play. And if the ACC gets embarrassed because they have to play the Big 10 every year and they're the 4th best league, then so be it. They get embarrassed. But you move on. It's fine. We don't need to do this. And by the way, when I talk about Oregon doesn't deserve to be in. Neither does BYU. I'm not arguing for BYU in this case either. You are talking about the 10th and 11th best teams in college football. Why are we losing sleep over which of those teams gets in? Win your title game. BYU's going to have that opportunity, and if they do, they're guaranteed to be in. And that is the redeeming factor, but that should be the redeeming factor for everybody.